Hello, I'm Haley and this is Taya, and welcome to Haley and Taya Rip Up Supernatural and Start Over, and also sometimes talk about other stuff, a podcast.
Also known as HATRUSA. Today we are talking about Season 1, Episode 4, also known as The Phantom Traveler, aka the one where they are on a plane, and that is the only thing I remembered about that. And I didn't even remember they were on a plane. I didn't even remember they were on a plane. This episode first aired on October 4th of 2005, so we are slowly getting out of 2005. And who boy, was it a disappointment after episode 3. Episode 3 hypes you up with Dead in the Water, and then you're like, ooh, this is the first time we meet demons, which are going to be the main antagonists for the next 15 seasons. To be fair, there are other antagonists, but I would argue demons are the biggest antagonist, aside from eventually God. So, like, it's just, like, a disappointing episode.
Yeah. It was definitely just, like, kind of sad to, like, watch that after a good way to put it. Our, like, wonderful little...
Yeah, you don't get the same kind of vibe from the minor characters that you did in Dead in the Water.
Not at all. Not even a little.
There's one the character you get to know best is named Amanda. And I mean, she seems fine. She's fine. Sorry if you can hear me scrolling. I'm trying to figure out. There's someone named Max Jaffe. Jaffe.
I think it's Jaffe.
He gets a very brief scene in a psych hospital where you'd think they'd come back around to that and be like, I mean, he's not gonna, I'll be honest, he probably wouldn't believe them, but you'd think it would have been nice for them to go back and, like, talk to him. Right. But we should go into our super quick summary, which is super basic. So there is a dude.
There's demon. It's a demon on a plane. You know the movie Snakes on a Plane? It's snakes on a plane, but it's demons.
This time it's demons. That's most of Supernatural. This time it's demons.
Yeah.
So you have a nervous flyer because this episode decides that you are more susceptible to demonic possession if you are, like, physically or emotionally weak. So anyone who has any, like, fear of flying, that they're going to be a target in this episode. So we meet this dude in a bathroom, and he's, like, freaking out, and some dude behind him is like, what are the chances? Their plane only crashes, like, what, 1 out of 20,000 times?
It's fine.
And then... It's fine, you're gonna be fine. And then, like, this terrible, terrible special effect black smoke comes in through a vent, goes into his eyes, bam! It's our first demon ever, which,
first one ever,
fun fact, is apparently named, according to the
Disaster Demon.
Disaster Demon, which I love. Disaster. I don't know what... Yeah, our little disaster demon. I have to know where that name comes. It must have been like in like they must have like put it out in like a script something, like that was just what they were calling the demon, because they had no point call it that. Anyway, the character gets on the plane possessed by the demon. The flight attendant notices that his eyes are black because when possessed by a demon, usually eyes are all black. They can hide it, but this time this demon just said fuck it. Mid-flight, he gets up, some kid, it's Max Jaffe, is like, yo, what are you doing? Because he's standing by the emergency exit. He opens the emergency exit, flies out, the plane crashes, and everyone but 7 people die. And Sam and Dean get a phone call from some dude named...
George Jeffrey? Jerry Panowski.
Sorry, Jerry. Named Jerry because Dean and John helped him out with a poltergeist. And he was like, I think this is a job for you. And they listened to the recording from, like, the co-pilot, from the pilot's, like, cabin. And for some reason, they hear something I didn't think it seemed that sus, considering a plane was crashing.
Yeah, the subtitles labeled it as low moaning.
Yeah, which, like, okay, Jerry, I guess.
Yeah.
But basically, the boys start investigating, and they realize, well, shoot, because this looks like it's not like a ghost.
Right.
It looks like it's something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally latch on to, this is a demon.
Yeah.
And this is the first time they've dealt with a demon, which is really neat and cool. And this demon is, when they, like, slowed down or modified the low moaning from the audio or whatever.
The black box,
it said,
probably.
Like, no survivors. So there will be no survivors. And it's like, they're like, oh no.
But there were 7!
Go after the survivors. There were 7. And I think that's an important number.
It doesn't...
Or is that's...
I feel like 7 is...
I don't know enough about the Bible. This one has a lot of Bible stuff, and I don't know much about the Bible.
We gotta study up on
Is
Bibles.
7 important in the Bible?
I don't fucking know.
Alright, well, there are 7 survivors, except then there aren't because one gets in a plane and dies.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they know one isn't going to get into the plane because that is the one who has checked himself into a psych ward. But they get a hold of the other 2 survivors and somehow convince him not to fly. They don't tell us how. They just do it over the phone. Right. And then they have to try and stop the flight attendant from getting on a flight.
And they do that by...
They go back up.
At first impersonating a doctor. Dean tries to impersonate a doctor, but then she's like, wait, my aunt or whatever it was, my sister, my aunt, I just talked to her on the phone, and Dean's like, fuck. And she's like, is this one of his friends? And Dean's like, yup, that's who I am. And it's like a really goofy scene.
Yep. I just realized we totally skipped over how they figured out it was a demon.
Oh, right. They found sulfur on the wreck.
Yeah, basically this is the first time they actually dress the goddamn part, which for some reason they don't own suits, so they go buy some suits that are questionably fitting, pretend to be Homeland Security, I believe, and go check out the wreck area.
Yeah, but they get caught.
Well, they don't get caught.
Well, they don't get caught, but they get found out, but they don't get caught because they run for it.
Yeah, literally 5 minutes after they show up, different Homeland Security shows up, and the guy at the desk is like, you need 2 teams? And they're like, what? But anyway, they found sulfur on the handle of the door, and that is why they are like, this must be a demon. But anyway, they could not convince Amanda to not get on the plane, so now they have to go on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Dean is afraid of planes. They are trying to figure out where the heck this demon is. Dean is walking up and down the aisles. Well, first they think it's Amanda. They try saying God's name. They use Christo. That's wrong. I mean, I guess if you're doing the whole, what is it, Holy Trinity? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Then technically it's not wrong, but fuck it. She has no reaction, so she's not the demon, so Dean is walking up and down the aisles with his dumb little
EMF.
Supernatural EMF finder thing that he made. And he doesn't see anything until the co-pilot, like, leaves, like, the bathroom to go back into the pilot cabin. And they convince Amanda to, like,
trick the
get the co-pilot back into the back room. And then they exercise him, and the plane goes all funky because they lose the book. Because so they get it out of the body, but then it's in the plane, but they need to exercise it back to hell. And then they do that, and then the plane lands, and then they find it from Jerry, because they're like, when the fuck did you get Sam's phone number? Dean's phone number. He's only had it for... Oh
6
my god.
months.
Dean's phone number. He's only had it for 6 months. Why am I so bad at speaking?
That's fine.
And he's like, oh, I tried to call your dad, but his voicemail said to call you instead. And they were like, what? And Haley and I were both like, they didn't try to call their dad. But it turns out that they've been trying, and it has been disconnected this whole time. But now there's voice message, and it says that he's busy and to call his son Dean. And then the episode ends.
And it was like the worst ending possibly ever. But that's not true, because the worst ending ever is the end of the series. But well, it's fine. Anyway, it was just a lame episode. Also, our death count is over 100 because an entire plane crashes in the beginning. So that's,
Yeah.
like 93, there were over 100 passengers and only 7 survivors, so at least 93 people died on that plane, and then plus the 3 who died, that's 100 and 100, that's 100 at least.
That's 100 and 100. Yeah. So we're really upping our death count on this one. So that is our brief summary, which we got to learn how to make shorter summaries, but sometimes shit happens.
We do this on the fly.
The demon yeah, we don't script shit.
Scripting is boring. Sometimes I don't think Supernatural script shit either. Anyway.
Haley's grievances.
Haley's notes.
Time for Haley's grievances.
My notes this time are kind of bland because I didn't love this episode. I'd rate it a 4 out of 10 spooks. But
definitely wasn't scary.
No. My first note is our first demon, which we've already been over. This is our first demon, and it's really fun because we notice a lot of things in the episode that do not stay consistent with how demons are the rest of the series. The supernatural.fandom.com/wiki/phantom_traveler also points this out and points out a lot of inconsistencies with the demon,
i.e. in the trivia section.
Yes, the fact that the demon smoke in this episode is like a swarm of insects rather than the cloud-like smoke.
Which must be one of the reasons why I was like, God, it looks so bad.
Yeah.
Because the special effects were absolutely horrific in this one. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But it's like, it's wild when you look at this because it's like, so this is a different variety of demon smoke than they're pretty much ever going to use again. This actually I noticed. It says this is one of 2 episodes wherein only the irises of the demon's eyes are black and the sclera remains white. The second episode being season 3, episode 1. Later in the season, demon's eyes are entirely colored. I noticed that.
I also noticed that.
Because I was like, that doesn't look right. I thought I was seeing things, but I guess they just like didn't know if they were gonna go with it yet.
Yeah, no.
And then they realized that the full black eye look looks a lot better and it looks a lot clearer.
Yes.
Because like I wouldn't have like I mentioned this in the commentary, I wouldn't have noticed that the characters had all black eyes.
No, not at all.
Like I just wouldn't have. Other inconsistencies, the holy water causes tissue damage. This doesn't happen in later seasons.
No, it makes him smoke, it like sizzles and smokes a little bit.
This had,
it literally
like,
burned
gross,
through his clothing. I was like, bro.
It was nasty. This is the only episode where demons possess people by flying into their eyes. In all other seasons, it'll be into the mouth.
Yeah.
In this episode, it talks about demons only possessing people who have a physical or emotional weakness. Later on, demons can possess any vessel without protection. The use of Cristo is only mentioned again in season 14.
Yeah.
Which, while we were watching the episode, I was like, they never use that again, do they?
Uh-huh.
They don't.
So, this episode was very clearly a trial run for demons, and they scrapped pretty much literally everything.
They pretty much said, pretend this episode didn't exist, let's start over.
And honestly, I think we did a really good job of pretending this episode didn't exist, because we both forgot about it.
Yeah, I remembered so little of this episode.
Yeah, my second note is generic pilot and flight attendant. The pilot on the first plane and the flight attendant both look very generic, that's all. Then I have written, Sleepy Dean, LOL. I physically wrote LOL. I just liked, I'm using my 1 for Sleepy Dean, because the tousled hair, it works for me. And then I wrote the quote, "That's not fear, that is precaution," because Sam accuses Dean of never being scared, and Dean's like, Sam's like, "Are you really never scared?" And Dean is like, "I'm never scared." And also that's like Chekhov's fear boy or whatever. I don't know what we want to call it. But the fact that he's like, "I'm never scared."
Fear boy.
Yeah, Chekhov's fear boy.
And then he's deathly afraid of
And then he's like, "Actually, I'm afraid of flight." And Sam's like, "Oh my fucking god." He has a knife under his pillow, and Sam is like, "Are you telling me this isn't fear?"
Knife.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful knife. And then I have
It's precaution.
I've written, oh great, a psych hospital, because they go to this psych hospital, and it's like, every time they use one of those, it's not great.
Honestly, this one wasn't bad.
No.
Like I mentioned, I wished they had come back to this character, because they don't.
They really just kind of leave him.
I don't know how they would have. I don't know how they would have convinced him that what he saw actually did happen. And I don't know if that would have been what was best for that character either. Like, I don't know if that would have been the best thing to do.
Right.
But they really just, like, he tells them he saw someone open the emergency exit, which shouldn't have been possible because there's, like, 2 tons of pressure on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the last you hear of that character. And it's a little like, eh.
Yeah.
But in comparison to other times psych hospitals have been used in this show, this was not too bad.
And honestly, at least he went to seek out help. We talked about wishing that the supernatural people have received therapy, and it looks like he did. So, like, that's cool, even though he doesn't really know what was going on.
I hope that he gets the help he needs.
Me too.
Feels better and recovers from that traumatic event.
Right. So then I've written, Dean and Sam should not be allowed to question psych patients, because we talked about this. They shouldn't be, like, they should not be allowed. They do not have
why they were
credentials.
I don't know why they were actually allowed in the psych hospital.
They weren't a family friend,
like,
family or a friend.
Like, why were they? I'm assuming they went under the guise of some sort of officers of some sort, but like, I can't believe the staff of this hospital who is walking around in the background, completely let this conversation go because they were kind of insensitive about some of the questions, and I don't know, it was just like it was just bad conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
The next thing I've written is gray apples, because there's a scene where they go to house of the pilot or whatever. I don't know. The nervous man.
Yes, the guy who opened the door and had been possessed by the demon.
And his wife has a bowl of gray apples on the table, which I think are probably just because the saturation was shit in this episode.
No, they were definitely just straight up gray.
They were straight up gray. Okay.
They were just there for decoration. Are we going to talk about the saturation, or should I do that now?
We can do that now, because I didn't write anything about saturation.
All right, we're going to talk about it again. We talked about it last episode. We're going to talk about it again. I hate the saturation of this fucking show. It is so dull. It's so, like, there's no pops of color. It's so flat looking. Like, at least, for all its faults, at least Riverdale has some obnoxiously neon scenes. You know? Like, oh my god. And there's this weird thing where sometimes, like, I know it's 2005, but sometimes they'll zoom in and it gets really grainy, or they'll have shots that are just, like, out of focus, and it's just like, who's working on this?
Nobody.
Anyway, I wish that it looked desaturated, and it looked flat, and it looked a little bit lifeless, and I would like them to add a little more color in. Just let there be a little more color. Whatever color grade you're using, knock it off.
Right.
Anyway, continue.
So after that, the suits! This is the first episode where they wear suits and are disguise themselves as federal agents. And we already talked a little bit about the suits, but I made note of it because I got excited about it. Because I really thought that happened like, way later.
Me too. I was editing our last pod and we talked about it. We were like, when does that happen? It happens the next episode.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, if we're impersonating Homeland Security. But you'd think that they would have done this a few times since they have so many badges. So why didn't they have suits?
Yeah, like, why didn't John be like, hey, guys, just so you know, you're gonna have to dress the part? Like, John sucks.
I understand why
John.
Sam wouldn't have one, but I don't understand why Dean wouldn't have one.
Yeah.
Because Sam lost all his shit in the fire.
Oh, right.
I don't know why Dean wouldn't already have a suit on hand. And also, I am unsure about the fit of those suits. If anyone wants to watch that episode for me and knows more about men's fashion wear, please tell me if those suits fit well, because I could not tell, and it bothered me so much. I was like, I don't think those fit right, and if they don't, costume department, what are you doing? And also, Sam and Dean, what are you doing? But anyway, move on. Cool
plane laid out scene is what I have written next. When they go to decorate, when they go to look at the I don't know why I was gonna say decorate.
The wreckage.
Yeah, the wreckage. It's like laid out on top of like a plan of like what the plane looks like, and it was just cool. And Taya remembered it. I did not.
Yes, I remembered it because I've seen it in a few cop shows before, where there are plane crashes, and I just think it always looks like cool. I mean, obviously plane crashes are very tragic, but like it's very neat to see. It's neat to see it like spread out on a warehouse and like piecing it together. I don't know.
No, I
It's
get it.
fun.
It's just fun. It's just cool. So then I've written The Exorcist ref, LOL, because they are talking, I believe. No, I don't remember exactly why, but Dean says like demons aren't just spitting pea soup or something like that. Yeah, he says this goes way beyond floating over a bed and barfing pea soup, and I was like, ha ha ha, nice Exorcist reference, idiot.
Oh, okay. I see it on the page now. I've never seen The Exorcist. As established previously,
I have.
I'm scared of horror.
So I watched The Exorcist with my friend I think it was my birthday last year or something, and because we wanted to watch a movie that was spooky, and honestly it was fucking boring and not scary at all. Anyway, so I wrote good zoom on pilot's face. I don't remember why, but they zoomed in on the pilot's face and it was just really funny.
Okay. Oh, it was when was this when he was flying the plane and crashed it?
I think it must have been after he
There
like
must have just
bashed
been a
in the
goofy
co-pilot's
zoom.
head.
There were just some goofy zooms in this episode, and there were a few that were like, you could tell it was like a manual, like someone walked forward with the camera.
Yeah.
There's one when they're on the plane where it zooms in on Sam's face, and they have to like go around Dean a little bit. It's kind of funny.
So then I wrote Sam's laptop stickers. Yes, because when they're researching the demon stuff, Sam has his laptop out, and it's this like clunky old 2005 laptop, and there's like a skull sticker on there, like, and it just looks really goofy, and it's really funny that those are the stickers that law student Samuel Winchester has on his laptop.
Oh my god.
I just loved it. It was great. Finally, I made a note about the demon smoke. I wrote the demon smoke looks so fucking fake because it looked so fucking fake. Like, obviously it's not
really
real,
bad.
but oh my god.
It was bad. Did you write down anything about the planes?
Yeah, later.
Okay, cool. Keep going then.
I wrote Dean flight fear because this is when you find out about Dean's fear of flight, and it's like, it was like, I think it was played really, like, good. It was like almost comically good.
Yeah.
Comically good.
Yeah. It was good. There was good tension and good comedy in it because Dean has been very, like, not afraid of things. And also Sam is like, then I'll get on the plane alone. And Dean is like, well, no, we're not doing that. And Sam's like, then you gotta get on the plane. And then Dean is singing Metallica.
Yes,
to himself.
that's actually my next note. I wrote, "Are you humming Metallica?" And then Dean said, "It calms me down." It was really funny. I really, really, really like scenes where they have Dean like drop the super serious like macho act and like just be a dude. I just really like those scenes. They're just fun. I like them. Then I wrote, before they get on the plane, they talk to the flight attendant who was on the first plane, and Dean literally calls her on the phone. And then when he's talking to her on the plane, she doesn't recognize his voice from the phone.
We just have to accept the fact that people are never going to recognize voices over the phone.
It's so funny, though. It was so funny.
It is a little weird.
Then I wrote, Dean is the most judgmental person fucking ever, because while he's using his EMF walking down the aisle of the plane, he just keeps looking at people and making faces. Like, there's one girl with, like, heavy body mods.
Goth one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he, like, makes a face at her. I was like, oh my god, Dean, chill out. So, I wrote, again, they love their zoom-ins, because that was when it zoomed in to Sam and it was, like, a little bit shaky. And then, this is not the first time this line was said in the episode, but I wrote it down this time when Amanda, the flight attendant, says, he had these eyes. I was like, everybody has eyes. Like, why is that all they need to say? Like, I understand why that's all they need to say, because Dean and Sam know that black eyes equals demon, but, like, just them being like, he had these eyes, and Sam and Dean going, yep, got it, know what you're on. Like, what?
But, like, somehow, because it's also very clear that this is their first time running into a demon.
Yeah.
So why would they know that a demon had black eyes? Because I feel like Jaffe or whatever didn't say he had black eyes, just weird eyes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
The voice modulator of the demon killed us dead. We both died.
It was funny.
I don't think they ever do that again either, but I don't remember.
We'll have to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Important note there is that the demon says that he knows what happened to Jessica. So this is our first inclination. And Dean later says, like, demons can read minds, like, that was nothing. But this is the first inclination that just dying in, you know, the exact same way that Mary died is tied to something bigger. So,
yeah.
Continue on.
And then I wrote computer-generated plane. Throughout the episode, every time there was like a plane scene, I would happen to be not paying full attention, whether that be taking a note or whatever. So I didn't completely get it until the plane was like crashing. And it was very shiny. I had been complaining
about it the whole episode.
Taya kept messaging it, and I was just like, okay, yeah, I believe you. But then I noticed it, and it was like, oh my god, it literally looks like it's a CGI plane.
Yeah, the CGI plane is so bad. It's so terrible, and it's so shiny. Whoever did the lighting on that really didn't know what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I know for a fact that there are ways that you can make a plane not look that bad. Like, use a stock shot or something. Because I've been watching Criminal Minds again, and, like, Criminal Minds, there's so many planes and jets everywhere because they get on their little flights to go to their crime scenes. And Criminal Minds came out as well in 2005, and I know for a fact that their shots were not that bad when there were trains in the old... there were planes in the early seasons.
I think so, like, early Supernatural just had a budget of, like, maybe 2 pennies and a lint.
Yeah, a little lint ball, for sure. They just didn't have much to work with. So the computer-generated plane was really funny. And then I wrote, this note is really fun because we were talking about the fact that they haven't tried to call their dad, but then, like, immediately they were like, yeah, I've called dad 50 times. But I wrote, wait, have they really not called? And then I wrote NVM, never mind. Because as I was writing the note.
We were roasting them for not, like, immediately trying to call their dad, because I was like, I'd call every single day. I'd call multiple hours.
Yeah.
Like, I'd space, and then, like, immediately we were both like, oh, they have tried calling their dad.
So
Supernatural got us there.
We were the roasties.
We were the fools.
We were the fools. And those are all my notes today.
Yeah, I would say this episode was boring. For major rewrites, I don't know if I have anything major other than make it more interesting.
Yeah.
This is our first demon, and I think with hindsight, knowing demons are going to be a huge part of Supernatural, it feels like they deserved a better entrance. As much as I love our disaster demon, there's not much horror in this episode. Like, there's the time where they're on the plane and it's a little bit scary.
Yeah.
But you're not, like, super invested. And I also will say, you didn't note this, but I will say, it's very funny because they don't give us Latin, like the Latin in the subtitles when Sam is doing the exorcism, and at one point when he's doing the second half that will send the demon back to hell, it's like so loud because everyone's screaming and the plane is crashing and you can't hear jack shit of the Latin. And I was like, I wonder how much of that is like they didn't really have an exorcism written out, because I'm pretty sure they end up using the same one pretty much for the rest of the show. Like they choose one and they stick with it.
Right.
But it was really funny that they didn't seem to know which one to do for this. So they kind of just were like, here's some Latin, no one look at it too close.
Yeah, say it. Just say it.
Yeah. Overall, a disappointing episode.
For our crack ship for this episode, again, there weren't too many interesting, like, background characters. There were. So here's my crack ship.
The background characters didn't really interact.
Here's my crack ship.
What's your crack ship?
Amanda the flight attendant and the goth girl.
Sure. I mean, I can't say anything against it because they didn't interact.
Yeah.
Seems legit.
My backup for it is Amanda looks very, like, preppy, and the goth girl obviously is goth, and that's always a fun dynamic. So
very Avril Lavigne not complicated.
Girlfriend.
Like your girlfriend.
Yeah. So that's mine.
I'll give you that.
Thank you.
I mean, it's hard when there's no background characters.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What is the music in this episode?
Well, this episode is brought to you by Paranoid by Black Sabbath,
apparently. I love never knowing the music in these. And I also love, since we had that weird thing happen with the first episode where, like, the music didn't match up. Sometimes I wonder if these songs actually show up.
Yeah.
Because Netflix never tells us in the subtitles, like,
it just
this
says
is
rock
the song.
music. in
It just says
brackets.
rock music, and you're just like,
did you cut it? Is this actually the song? These aren't songs that I'm familiar with, so I can't say.
So we're just going to assume that this episode is brought to you by Paranoid by Black Sabbath, but honestly,
We don't know.
we aren't sure.
We don't know.
And finally, our favorite thing on the wiki, I have not decided yet. I will say it's weird because this Wikipedia plot is set up completely different than the other ones have so far, as in it's set up by location, which is weird.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I mean, part of me wants to say Disaster Demon is my favorite just because I adore that name.
Yeah. But this is a hard one today. There wasn't.
I am going to call them out with the error and say that my favorite thing on this is whoever was very nitpicky and wanted to say the Latin word for God is Deus, not Christo.
Yeah.
Christo is Christ.
Uh-huh.
That person had some beef.
I think mine right now is when Dean calls Amanda pretending to be a doctor. He says, "Hi, this is Dr. James Hetfield," and I went, "Wow, what a name!" And I didn't I didn't know that was the lead singer / rhythm guitarist of Metallica until I read the Wikipedia. Thanks, Wiki.
I mean, this one, I don't have a scoring system for this one at all because it wasn't as disappointing as episode 2 or episode 1.
Right.
But it wasn't good. Like, it wasn't bad. Nothing really bad happened. Like, nothing, like, I would say that would make me stop watching the show or made me really angry.
Right.
Like, I didn't go on a 5-minute rant about lighting or anything. It was just kind of like a meh episode. And you'd think for something that, I mean, they had to know demons were going to get more involved because they knew up to season 5 was happening, I assume, or they were hoping because they have the special child plot built in,
right?
So you'd think that they'd have a better jumping off point for their demons, but they don't. So yeah, I don't remember much about the next episode other than I have childhood trauma from Bloody Mary. So this is gonna be fun.
Here's what I have to ask, Taya.
What do you have to ask me, Haley?
Do you think there's going to be mirrors in the next episode?
I don't know. Do you think we're going to be chanting things?
Most likely. But I guess that's something we'll have to find out later. So, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Catch you on the flip side. Bye.